So it's a grant-funded programme with ERDF, and it's got funding from the partners to match it. It will give you access to expert technical and commercial support, and it's all around how data can be exploited to innovate for business. So we're looking for SMEs. It will give you as SMEs and entrepreneurs unique access to high impact learning and collaboration with the partners, and it's about taking ideas and making them a reality, maximising the potential of data and innovative solutions on the back of that. So why should you be interested in boring data? It's actually driving the UK's digital economy. It's how you can innovate, it's how you can grow. It's about using the power of that information and data to benefit your business and increase your market share. So it's around developing new products, but not only that, learning how to use data to actually benefit your business. And you can optimising your efficiencies and create value both for the end user but also for you as a business, so you're focusing your energies in the right directions. So this is what Tech UK are saying. They are predicting that 241 billion in UK economic growth and 157,000 new jobs by 2020 due to big data. So it's things like internet, smartphones, wireless networks, everything. We all know how much information is collected on us all the time, whether you're online, whether you're just out and about. And it's about harnessing this knowledge and using the power to your advantage. And I'm not going to go through the slides because obviously, as Naomi said, you can do it, but it's at an early stage in development at the moment. So it's about looking for ways to help you get in on the ground floor and take the opportunities while they're there now. So what's in it for you? What we want to do is we're looking for applications from any SME in the Greater Birmingham and Solihull area, and we're looking to help you accelerate your capabilities to use data and increase your growth potential and market share. So it's about you being ahead of the game if you take part in the project. It is funded, so it's subject to funding rules, which, you know, are on the application form for ERDF de minimis funding, but the actual commitment from you is your time. It's not a monetary commitment. The funding is there. So what's on offer? For those of you with not very much or no experience of handling data, it's support to help you develop the knowledge and skills to be a part of that business that Tech UK are predicting is the future, and it's learning how you can use data and information to the advantage of your company. So you'll have the opportunity, I'll come on to who the partners are in a moment, but to work with and collaborate with them. And so even if it's just a case of understanding data, that you can analyse your own performance and look for gaps in the market, right through to actually you've got a really, really innovative idea. How can that product be brought to market? Which is more for the already know what you're doing. It's technical expertise and business advice. It's available there to help you accelerate your product development or your business plans in a safe environment using data, with all the privacy around that and the links around that. So, for example, some of the things we've got on offer will be workshops around helping understand data, use of sensor technologies and data commercialisation. Not only that, we're working with Innovation Birmingham, and so there's the workshops around business support and how to run your business more effectively. We're building an online data platform as part of the programme, and that is actually somewhere where there will be open and closed data sets, and if you're part of the programme, you'll be able to experiment with data in a safe environment there, learn how to use data, it will have the ability for you to upload your own data onto there, but also you'll have access to all the data that is on there and how you can use it. And in addition, we've got expert technical assistant from leading academics and from actual private sector organisations and public sector. So there'll be mentoring and networking opportunities. There'll be a safe environment where you can learn and develop, and off the back of it, you could make an amazing idea possible through the collaboration with them. So who's involved? Digital Birmingham, that's us at the council. We're doing project management and SME engagement. So we're looking at the moment for SMEs to apply for this programme, and the details are at the back, and there's also nice little postcards on all your seats. So please take it away. And please, there's some on the table. So if you know any other SMEs who you think may be interested, please pass the information on to them. There is Aston University. We're working with the department which are experts in photonics, which is the use of light to perform functions usually done by electronics, so for example telecommunications, and they are experts in lighting as well, and they will have demonstrators where products can be developed, and they will help support you with business plans and bring new stuff to market and provide networking opportunities, mentoring. Birmingham City University are actually designing and building the data platform, and they are offering expertise in the use of data and a safe environment for it to use. So as part of the application process, we're interested in hearing on what types of data you would be interested out there to support your businesses. We're involved in Enable Idea, another partner. They actually are receiving the expressions of interest and analysing the areas where people are interested in data, so we can make sure that the platform meets your requirements rather than what we sitting there in our ivory tower think you want. They are also experts in data use and the privacy requirements around using data, and how to use data to deliver new services. That's their area. Innovation Birmingham kindly hosting us today, and they've got expert business knowledge they can share with you, and the Serendip incubator facilities. Talenza are an expert in street lighting, and they've got technology, infrastructure, and a sensor and application network, and they can provide technical expertise and support your activities around this. And West Midlands Combined Authority, we're actually working actively with Transport Network West Midlands, and they are focusing on intelligent mobility and health, and they obviously have expertise in transport and its opportunities and access to their data sets to innovate and improve. So I won't spend too long on this, but this is the type of support you can get, what you can do with data, how you can develop apps, how you can use APIs to pull data, how you can develop your business model, and then there's actually the tailor-made demonstrators are around smart lighting, energy efficient hybrid lighting, optical fibre sensing, and also gas sensing. Aston University are developing one for that as well. So this is who can apply. It's any SME in the Greater Birmingham and Solihull Local Enterprise Partnership, and we will, on our side, actively engage with stakeholders and citizens in Eastern Corridor, which is like that bit of Birmingham on the map. And what part of that is looking to develop solutions that will increase their quality of life, so health, mobility, and address those particular challenges in that sector. So types of support we've got available. We're looking to find 125 SMEs which will have support to understand data, so the time commitment to you for that is 12 hours, and it can be made up from multiple partners, just one partner depending on which is your area of interest. I want to, by the end of the project, which runs to 2019, be involved in bringing 32 new products to market. We want, off the back of this, obviously linked to the Tech UK prediction, for them to be employment opportunities, And also we have 32 long-term research cooperations with the universities to innovate and bring new products to market. As I mentioned before, we're particularly looking for SMEs to tackle and develop solutions to address social inequality and environmental issues. So community care, congestion, air quality, any of you or anybody you know with interest around that. So if you want to find out more, the expression of interest is on our website. Like Naomi, I'm going to crib. It is a new website. It's not being revamped. It is brand new. At the moment, it will just take you straight to the expression of interest, but there will be more information on there soon. If you've got any questions, you can email us at Big Data Corridor, or you can phone us at the Digital Birmingham office. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have we got any questions just before she scoots off? Any questions about Big Data Corridor? Anyone?
My store. No, yeah.
For those of you that didn't hear, we're just asking about application deadlines. There's no current deadline.
No current deadline. We're just inviting applications now.
Awesome. Any more? That's good. That means you answered all the questions. Thank you again, Fiona. Thank you. Before we get our next speaker up, is there somebody in the audience that wants to come up? Up you come. Yeah. You can't hide in the back. Yay! This is Louise from Silicon Canal.
So, hi everyone. Hi, I'm Louise. I'm from Silicon Canal, and we've got a few other representatives here today. I'm here to just talk about an event that we're doing on the 15th of June in connection with BBC Digital Cities and NatWest eSpark. We're doing an event. It's going to be taking place on a canal boat where we're getting 5 pitchers together, a group of investors together, and really bring those people together and see if we can progress to some investment. Then in the evening from 6 till 9 in the Custard Factory, we're doing a big barbecue. We're going to have some events there, some keynote speakers there. There's tickets available on Eventbrite. Please come along. That's it.
Awesome. We all love a barbecue, right? Let's hope it's not like this. So, Tom, I'll let you introduce yourself because you probably do a better job than I will. So, round of applause for Tom, everyone.
So hey guys, today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about basically the problem of travel today and how we as a company are using artificial intelligence to try and relieve some of those problems and relieve the stress of city exploration, particularly in the UK, but future around the world. So a bit about my background. Obviously that's me. I was going to put a photo of me up as a kid, but I thought you'd prefer that one, so I went for something a little bit older. I mentor for a number of organizations because after finishing my last business, I wanted to try and give back to the local communities. So perhaps Stanford seems a little bit far away, but I do that online. And I do the rest, helping young people in particular really get into business. Obviously, you can see I've given a TED talk. I gave that on the future of technology. And I'll be talking a little bit about that today, particularly about artificial intelligence. And I've gone on to found KOMPAS, which is what I'll be talking about today. But before I do that, I'm going to show you a short video because I know this video can explain what we do a lot better than I can and a lot more concisely. So here we go. So that gives you a brief insight into what we're doing. Now, I think a lot of you have faced the problem when you're traveling or in the city that you're currently in. This is the kind of thing that you end up with when you're trying to explore the city. Too many blogs, too much opportunity, you just don't know where to start. You're finding your friends, you're just asking just about everyone, and more often than not, you end up getting lost in the noise and going to the same place that you always go to. So it's a broken industry, and it's an industry that we're trying to fix. You're normally short on time, you end up in everyday places, and you have a low level of satisfaction. So that's exactly what we're trying to fix. Now, the market for it is huge. Proximity marketing itself is a $50 billion market, or will be by 2020. 25% of everyone's annual wages are spent on leisure. There's an $8.3 billion spend per month in the UK alone. And 47% of millennials will make up the market will be made up by 47% of millennials by 2020, which is important for us because that's our target market. So 66% of millennials now value the unique experiences over kind of material goods, and they want to find out what's actually going on. And we've built out a community of 30,000 people already, which is continuing to grow, to try and showcase and change the way that people are thinking when they're traveling. So moving into artificial intelligence and how we do it. Now, this is kind of how the public think artificial intelligence is at the moment. This is what researchers think it is. What it actually is something a lot more simple. Normally, it's a piece of computer software, does some basic algorithms, well, not basic algorithms, but carries out algorithms, analyzes information, and then comes out with a decision and makes decisions based on that. Now, I would be wrong if I said that the researchers were wrong, because they are right. All of these things are forms of artificial intelligence, and it's safe to say that that isn't. Well, it is, but it doesn't exist. So the way that we're doing it is through the use of machine learning. Now, this is kind of neural networks 101. I didn't know how much people knew about machine learning, which is why I didn't want to go too deep. But in essence, you input data, there's a load of hidden things that happen, the algorithms carry out processes, and we output with that decision, that data. Compare that data between the two, and then make decisions. And the way that that works is with k-means clustering. So once you've got the data, you assign it to a centroid, which is that black point in the middle. And the artificial intelligence comes in when it changes the level of where that centroid is because of the information that you're providing it. So it's constantly changing and constantly learning. So put that into layman's terms, if you became a vegetarian on January the 1st after eating meat every single day, within about a week we'd be able to work out that we should stop telling you to go to really nice burger joints because, unsurprisingly, you're a vegetarian. And that's the whole point about constantly changing and constantly learning algorithms. So this is kind of how I see the future of travel and how many other people will as well. The first thing, of course, is driverless cars. Everyone's hearing about them. And as well as that, it's the kind of radiuses around cars to prevent people from crashing into each other. Boeing released a concept plane recently, which is all about windows, as you can see, and being able to see into the skies as you're traveling. But more importantly, it's going to be a hugely connected world. Everyone at the moment is seeing more and more data being used on their phone, and the amount that your phone operators will give you is just increasing. I mean, 5 years ago, I think I had about 2 gigabytes of data per month, and now I've got 20. And I'm actually getting through that data as well. And of course, the other thing about travel is hotels. Hotels are fundamentally changing. Not only is Airbnb disrupting the industry, but more importantly, there's the whole digital innovation that's happening that we need to adapt to and make sure that we're ready for it. And that's a whole other industry within the travel industry that's changing. So I've been here for the last 2 to 3 months now as part of London Midland Labs, which is run by London Midland. I'm on the first cohort with my team. And as a result of that, we're trying to work with London Midland to work on their customer insights, their customer satisfaction. And as a result of that, we've got a demo day on the 31st of May, which I'd love to see some of you there. And we're actually going to be launching in Birmingham, which is perhaps more useful for you. So, hands up here if you've heard of any of those places, and I'd hopefully see some of the places. Okay, good. So, some of you have heard of some of them. Is there anyone in here that hasn't heard of anything on that list? So that's exactly my point. All of these places are available in Birmingham, and people that have lived in Birmingham their whole lives don't know about half of the things that exist in their own city, and that's the problem we're trying to fix. So all of these places are unique, local, independent places that exist. And we'll be launching, as I say, on the 31st of May. You can download the application already. At the end of this week, we'll be doing an exclusive invite to anyone that's downloaded it in Birmingham, so you'll get access to a test bed of information so you can try it out, with the full launch happening on the 31st of May. So that's pretty much it. I mean, unfortunately, you can't really see it, but that is the team, kind of blacked out behind. So yeah, has anyone got any questions? Thanks very much.
Awesome, thanks. So that's the app is called KOMPAS, yeah? And you can download it now, and we'll get a cool invite. Let's download it, download it. Question over there. Just wait for the microphone so everyone can hear you. Thank you.
I didn't know whether he was waving or just...
How does curation work on the place you're going to be putting there? Like, there's going to be, are you going to be benefiting from local people, or is it going to be paid employees? Or?
Say that again, sorry, I didn't quite hear.
Is it going to be volunteers from the community, or is it going to be paid employees of the company? Is it going to be a bit more automatic by like scraping blocks, API, stuff like that?
So we do a combination. We've got our own teams that will source content, so we aim on big cities to have around 1,000 points of data, but of course we rely on our users as well, so we are hoping that volunteers will get involved and become part of that as well. There's of course a gamification element and a paid element for doing that kind of stuff, but generally speaking we have an editorial layer, so if you submit something that you know about that isn't on the application, it comes to our servers, we check it and then accept, and it goes onto the database. Longer term, we're actually looking at building algorithms that will basically find the information, look for data, and then it will come back to us, and then we literally have to say yes or no to the data. But at the moment, because we're small and scaling, it is a slightly more human and manual process.
Awesome, yeah.
Thank you. What cities we have already covered, and what's the plan in terms of going forward? Is it only in the UK? Are we doing it in Europe? Are we doing it worldwide? So where are we?
At the moment, it's available in London, Berlin, and Munich. They're the 3 cities that we're operating in. We've got Birmingham at the end of this month, as I've said. We're focusing at the moment on the UK and Germany. The reason being is because we're targeting locals. So we look at where people tend to travel between those cities. So if you live in Birmingham, there's a higher proximity that you're going to go to somewhere like Manchester than, let's say, Paris. So we look at that kind of information to work out where we go next. So over the next 3 years, we'll be expanding heavily across the UK and Europe. And then off the back of that, then we'll be looking at either Asia and the US, depending on where our funding round comes in, because that will dictate where we go with the investors. So it would either be Asia or the US.
I saw that, I think if I've got the figure right, 30,000 people already contribute to the program, or to the, they're providing the inputs. So are these people voluntary, just doing the voluntary work for you?
Yeah, pretty much. At the moment, so we've got 30,000 people that are involved with us. They're not necessarily contributing content. They could be users, they could be followers, they're all sorts. Actually, the active community that is generating content for us, we've got about 60 in Munich that are doing various bits for us, and various others across the other cities that we're in. We only need, because we have 1,000 places before we launch in a city, generally speaking, there's enough content to satisfy people. 1,000 places doesn't sound a lot, but when you've actually got it boiled down to what your interests purely are, there's maybe a handful of 30 or 40 places that you'll regularly go, and then our algorithm puts in a level of randomization so that you every so often step outside the box and do something different again. So we have content constantly coming onto the platform, but generally speaking, as the application goes, we expect it to grow up, but at the moment it's probably around 100 people that are donating content to us.
Any more questions? You've already had a go.
Just a quick question. How do you handle travel inside the city? Like I saw on the video you had destinations and time between them. Do you handle city transport, stuff like that?
So at the moment, we are focusing purely on cycling and walking. Over the net, which can be a bit of a pain if you're in a kind of big city and not going to walk everywhere. One of the things that we're doing at the moment is building in various bits, so that is live transport information, so trains and similar, and we are allowing users to book Ubers as well. Sorry to anyone that hates Uber, but they're pretty widespread now, so it was the first choice, and similar options, so Uber, Lyft, similar other services. So at the moment, walking and biking, in the next 12 months, it will be public transport as well.
Last question, Alistair.
Hang on, I'm trying.
Run!
Great, thanks for the presentation, by the way. How do you see TripAdvisor? Is that just dumb, or is it something for a different demographic?
Yeah, it's a good question. TripAdvisor, for me, is innately broken. There's a few reasons for that. The first reason is when you look up a place, I think everyone in the room will agree that when you look up a place on TripAdvisor, the first thing you do is find the 1-star reviews, not the 5-star reviews. Now, that comes down to a level of trust, not trusting the 5-star reviews that exist there. So that's the first problem for us that we wanted to solve. So the reviews that you see in our sense are from people similar to yourself, and that's the first problem with the kind of TripAdvisor model. The second problem with TripAdvisor that I have is the way that they actually work with businesses. They give you the first year for free as being part of the TripAdvisor model, but after that you can no longer apply unless you're paying TripAdvisor. So of course for TripAdvisor it's great, they make money. But in essence the businesses fall out and don't get the benefit that they need because they can't reply to comments. So you can actually find that TripAdvisor are damaging more businesses than they actually are helping. So I think it's a combination. It's a definitely different demographic. We're targeting the millennials, so it's looking at 18 to 32-year-olds. Although I would argue it's a mindset. If you want to get out of the shell, you can be 80 and go and do it. But at the same time, I think there are some big problems with TripAdvisor that need to be fixed.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much, Tom. Thanks for everyone. Where's my third speaker? There you are. Do you want to come up? We've had a couple of people talk just in between speakers. I'm going to open the floor up now. If anybody wants 1 minute to pitch themselves, are you looking for anything during the networking? Anyone? No? You've come to network, you don't want to tell anybody about yourself? Okay, fair enough. Over to Tony at Beat Freaks. Hi.
No worries. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Tony. I work for an organisation called Beat Freaks. The reason that it's something completely different is because I'm not here to teach you about a little bit of tech. I'm here to tell you a little bit about what we do, pose loads of really open-ended questions, and then grab you all afterwards for a chat. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'll explain a little bit more in a minute, but Beat Freaks is it found its birth as an arts organisation, and that's kind of the capacity that I'm here in, is kind of having a conversation about what can the tech community and the tech sector take from artists and artistic practice and kind of the way that they think, and then likewise the other way around, how can artists and people developing their own practice learn from technologists and people that deal with data and things like that. So my plan is hopefully to pick your brain a little bit, give you a little bit back, and then, like I said, pose loads of really open-ended questions, answer none of them, and then invite you for a chat afterwards. It's actually really exciting that we're here. So kind of doing that exact thing, taking artists and technologists and bringing them into the space is a project that we're working on with Innovation Birmingham. We actually moved into the space a couple of weeks ago. We ran an event here a little while ago called The Art of the Possible, if any of you were here. But it's all about looking at what would happen if we brought artists into this space and kind of people working in that kind of creative sector. What would happen if we involved them in the ideas of serendipity, and what innovation could we bring, and what kind of sparks could we fly into this space. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. So, I work for an organisation called the Beat Freaks Collective, and we believe in using creativity for good. So it's creativity in all of its many guises. So kind of, yes, it's people developing their artistic practice, but then it's also creativity in approaching solutions to social problems, in developing new enterprise, in developing new projects and ideas and social campaigns and things like that. We're a collective of companies. So the Beat Freaks is comprised of Young Giant, Doink and Free Radical. I'm going to talk a little bit about Young Giant. I'm going to mostly talk about Doink. Not going to talk about Free Radical today, but we can catch up about it another time. But all of these organisations work together to fuel conversations and concepts, all daring people to challenge the way of the world. So that's kind of getting people to ask questions, us asking questions ourselves, poking and prodding, getting people to think about the way things are, whether that's the way that they should be, whether we can cause change, and also equipping people to answer those questions, or kind of more importantly maybe, equipping people to ask other questions so that we can get closer to the solutions that we need. Where are we at? So, just to start, Young Giant is, So Young Giant is a change agency looking to develop institutions of the future through the power of young people. So Young Giant is all about helping organisations and companies and brands to kind of shape their products and to shape their services and to disrupt their practices, bringing in the power of young people as a youth engagement organisation at our heart, and kind of getting people to change up the way that they deliver things, build better products, build better services, build better policies for communities and the demographics that they serve. People should get better products and services out of it, and companies and organisations should get better engagement with the communities that they want to engage better. Everybody wins. Where are we at? Oh, sorry. always happens. Okay, so in our work at Young Giant, where we gained a lot of insight into how young people work, and we managed to take all of that and apply it to organisations and help them to develop their insights into how young people work. So we got this idea that gaining insights from people is actually the really important thing, and that's where Doink came from. So Doink stands for the Do and Think Tank. It's not just a random sound, but so if you think of a think tank is all about talking and coming up with ideas and generating information and putting out papers. The Doink is one step further. It's doing things with that. So the Do and Think Tank. So Doink exists to humanise data, to tell extraordinary stories and to facilitate better decisions. So we kind of had this idea that if we can humanise data, by that we mean how do we incentivise the process of gathering data from people? If you were at an event and you were having an absolutely amazing time, and you're stood there having an amazing time, you're dancing away, I don't know, it's turned into a dancing event, I'm at a festival, and then somebody comes up to you and goes, hey, are you having an amazing time? Yes, I'm having an amazing time. Brilliant. Stop having an amazing time, fill out my survey so that I know that you're having an amazing time on my piece of paper. It doesn't work. There's a complete disconnect in that somewhere. So Doink is all about how do we use our experience of artistic excellence and community engagement and bring all of those into that process of capturing data from people. And then from the other side, how do we use those same principles to communicate data better to people? How many times have you commissioned an evaluation or done an evaluation at the end of a project or end of a campaign, and you write down all of your, this went well, this didn't go so well, this is what we'll do next time, and then you completely forget about it by the time that you come to run your next project, or the staff teams that should know these facts, or the staff teams that should know all of these big, boring spreadsheets worth of figures aren't looking at them as they develop what they're doing. How do we lift that data off of the paper and turn it into something tangible? I'm going to talk about some examples of it. I'm going to come back to them in a sec, but kind of so the way that we work, and this is something that I'm going to go on to, is it's by convening artists and technologists and researchers to produce insightful experiences, harnessing the power of art and creativity, using artistic endeavour to create a physical installation that people can poke and prod and mess with and pick up and put down, and then that is their way of adding data. They get the value of contributing and creating a connection with an artistic installation. We get all the value of the insight of their data. It's a kind of it creates an honest transaction out of it. It's not an underhand, we're going to collect all your data from the back of our app and then we're going to do stuff with it. It's asking people openly to come and get involved by incentivising the kind of the data collection process. Doink is driven by two key statements. So that would be surveys are boring and the people that you want to hear from are not boring. Statistics are confusing and the people that you want to hear from, the people that you want to understand them often don't understand them. And that kind of pushes it forwards. That's our guiding principles for why we do it. How we do it is covered by our Agile Arts Manifesto, which is our new way of thinking that we talk about. So, why the Agile Arts Manifesto? Room full of technologists. Some of you might be aware that in the 1980s, the fledgling tech community developed the Agile Tech Manifesto. And it was really exciting, kind of set down in a really exciting and interesting way how tech companies and how individuals involved in it should go about with their working practices. Obviously worked really well because it's a major growth sector. So we got really excited by how do we take these learnings from the tech sector and apply them to arts organisations? How can we take the learnings that help this industry to grow so amazingly and help artists and arts organisations and companies and big, old theatres, the Hippodrome and the Rep, but then also a young person who's just out of art school trying to set up their own theatre company or something like that? How do we go about doing that? We believe that arts, we say that we're at the middle of like a data revolution here. There's so much data, we generate more data than we ever have done before, we're bombarded with it all the time. How do we move on to the next stage of this? How do we help people to make sense of it? We believe that art and artists are at the centre of it, and that's kind of what the Agile Arts Manifesto is about. It's got a few principles. I'm going to go over 3 of them today, then I'll give you a link at the end if you want to find out a little bit more about any of them. But the first one that I'm going to go with is to disrupt. So, play with the boundaries of the consumer and creator. I put audience and artist, but that could easily be the creator and the client. It could be the producer and the customer. You could swap that out and you could put anything in there. The role of the spectator or of the customer is changing. It has changed. The Tech Manifesto kind of strapline to go with this was that business people and developers must work together daily throughout their project. We were like, oh, well, maybe they don't need to work together daily, but do they need to work together in some capacity to build new products? there are so many products available. How do you help people to create an emotional relationship with the product that you are developing personally? And we believe that participatory art and social practice has massively blurred the lines of of that line between audience and artist, and how do we dance around that? So to kind of give an example of what that means to arts organisations, that is, what would happen if you invited your audience of a theatre production to help to steer the plot of the end of the play? How does that change their investment in what they're seeing, and how does that change their investment in future products that you develop? If you were developing a music night, how would it work if you got your audiences to choose the chords that you played, and how does that affect the piece of art at the end? Whose piece of art is it? Is it yours? Is it theirs? Is it ours? It's just kind of, like I said, lots of open-ended questions this evening. But it's a really exciting idea. So we call it, in theatre, we call it removing the fourth wall. And kind of my question is, how could we, so this started off as a tech manifesto, it's been through arts, and now I'm trying to put it back to the tech community to ask how do we remove the fourth wall of tech organisations? How do we, so if you're a developer and there's a client who's asking for a product, how do we go one step further and bring their customers into the kind of conversation? How do we get them into the room and ask them about the product that you're developing? Or even more excitingly, how do we bring in the people that aren't the customers, people that are actively avoiding these products? How do we get them into the room and start asking them about this conversation and bringing them into it? It's just kind of really exciting ideas around that, which kind of leads us nicely into the next one, which is about connecting multidisciplinary work emerges from integrated teams. This comes from this idea that product owners and analysts and your coders and all of these people should all work together to get to the final product. In arts organisations, we were really excited by the idea of what would happen if you got the artist or your designer or your marketing team with all of their creative flair to sit down with your accountant with all of their rigour and kind of meticulous number calculating. What skills could these two people share with each other? If we stop working in silos and bring everybody into the same space and everybody works in the same room, what kind of innovations and new exciting products could we develop as part of that? Bring in your techies and your artists and your financial teams. Stop working in silos. Which kind of brings me nicely onto my third point, which is that, so if you brought all of these people together, so we've got our artists, we've got our solicitor and our financial person, they've got a name, haven't they? Accountants, sorry. But then, like, what if you've got an astrophysicist in the room or something as well? Once you've brought them all together, you've got to empower them to go away and do the thing that you've asked them to do. So kind of, to give you the example, just before the referendum, again, going back to this idea that there's loads of data and the data's flying around all over the place, and it was alt facts and alt news and the loony left and the far right and all of these different things and all people saying different stuff. People were really confused. It was a really difficult time to try and assess what was true and what wasn't true. So we launched a thing. Eventually, it got called the Data Rave, which was an opportunity for young people to come along and access these facts, bring them all to life, get them off pieces of paper, get them off little leaflets through your doors and make them real. So we got in a room an architect, a visual artist, a theatre maker and a poet, and we posed them this question of, guys, there's all of this data, people have got to make a really important decision, how do we help them to get to that point? They called it the Data Rave, so it's kind of a lot of processes of inviting in our audiences. We've got young people involved. Where do young people go? Young people like to go out. Okay, then let's simulate that for what we're doing. And then kind of charge these guys with going out and studying the rave and seeing where do people naturally congregate. People congregate at the bar. Well, then let's have a data visualization experience at the bar. So people came up to the barman and they had a conversation with the barman. Depending on your answers, you got a different drink. Depending on your political leanings, then depending on where you put your cups in which bin, that was another piece of data. People went over here and there was like, the toilet attendant stands there and people start rabbiting to them after a certain time in the evening. Maybe that person could be full of facts about the election. So in the toilet there was a little another data comms piece going on in there, and that all came from empowering people to go away and do the things that we've asked them to do. And it worked really, really well for us. That's kind of the only three that I'm going to share for you today. I know that we're a bit short on time, but the rest of the manifesto is available online if you'd like to see it. It's on the website. I'm just going to go on quickly. Am I right to carry on? Is that all right? 2 minutes. Right, okay. Right, I'll be quick. Okay, so principle in action. This is society. This was another piece that we did looking into the demographics of the workplace. Who's working in the workplace, or maybe more interestingly, who isn't working in the workplace? Society, Tea and biscuits, representation through tea and biscuits. We really like a good pun and a really good motif, but there's also something deeper about tea as kind of a communal thing. You have tea when you've had a really horrible, terrible day. Tell you what, let's sit down and have a cup of tea, let's talk about it. If you've just accomplished something absolutely amazing, that's brilliant, now let's have a cup of tea. It's this really wonderful social tool. But what it meant was that if you had a massive stack of biscuits here and a tiny little stack of biscuits there, before you even know that there's a fact related to it, you know that there's a disparity. If underneath that you put, women in senior management roles in large corporations, and the stack is this big and this stack is this big, we know that there is a problem here and it's something that we need to talk about. So it lifts the stats off the screen, somebody that might never have engaged with it as a chart of who's who in each organisation. You can get them to start talking, but not just going, oh look, that's a big difference. You can start asking them, why is that difference there? And you can start kind of ideating that. That worked really well, but we had a problem, and this is where I wanted to get you guys involved, which was the power of Doink is all about the kind of taking intangible data and making it tangible, poking, prodding, pulling, putting, pushing, and we want to know how we can tech enable this. So we had a problem, like some of our ideas, for example, were, could we 3D print biscuits? And could we have it as a nationwide thing whereby people designed their own biscuit depending on their answers to stuff, and then it popped out in a 3D printer in our room somewhere, and then we stacked them up and it was live streamed. So it brings out the experience into the whole room. How do you make sure that you don't lose that tangible nature of what Doink is? We got a technologist in and they developed this. You can't really see it, unfortunately, but this was somebody developed a 3D installation of the kind of the exhibition. It was at the Mac. So this is the room at the Mac. And you could put it on your phone, and you move your phone around, and it will show you different bits. So it's like you're in the room, but just looking at it through your phone. And it kind of kept it very, very tangible. So this was a kind of an example of how we got technologists involved in kind of the aims of Doink and the social aims of what Doink was. And amazing things happen as a result of it. This is another project that we did with the Barbican, which was, they have an event called the Walthamstow Garden Party, and they wanted to know who was coming and how they were engaging with the arts. Rather than going with a survey, we developed mood strings. So each one of the strings is a different colour depending on your sentiment for the day. You attach it at different points on different posts, depending on your demographic data. And over the day, it built this beautiful string sculpture. It was really beautiful. And people queued up to give us their demographic data on that one. On a basic level, that helped the Barbican to understand exactly who was coming, and that's brilliant. But on a bigger level, it helped us to understand people's engagements with the arts, or more importantly, people's barriers to engaging with the arts. So there's a much larger social piece around that, and kind of the importance of it. I can't stress enough of the work that we were doing. So at the end of it, we can go to the Barbican and go, brilliant, you're doing really well in this demographic, you're doing absolutely rubbish in this demographic. Let's talk about why that's the case, and what is stopping people from coming from that demographic. What can we do about that? My question to you today is, how could we go about digitizing that? So it's kind of it's an open call to action for your tech skills, and kind of thinking about how your skills, how could I build a collaborative team with you in it that would help us to create a digital version of this? I've got loads of ideas, I've just got none of the skills for it. Is it about geotagging? Is it about using lasers? I want to use lasers around this room and do something for it one day. But kind of, that's my big question for today, I reckon. I will leave the practical tools and solutions. You have to come and find me to get to practical tools and solutions. But then, so the last thing that I want to do to kind of go back to is the Metalworks that the Arts and Tech Incubator that we're developing with Innovation Birmingham. And it's all about bringing together these kinds of things, these concepts I'm talking about, of bringing people with completely different skill sets together and seeing how they can support each other or how they can get involved. And please do come and have a chat with me about it. It's a long-term project, and we'll be looking for partners and things like that. So give us a shout. Cheers.
Wow, that was fun. You probably smell the pizza. I know it's tantalising.
Pizza's here.
Have we got maybe one or two questions, Tony? Before everyone just hungry.
No,
right?
Everybody's pizza ready, I think.
Everybody's pizza ready. One question over there, Lee. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Pardon?
Is there a practical side in your art?
In the art? So, do you mean practical in people getting involved and... Okay. Okay, yep, so for when we got the architect involved, he was in charge of, he brought all of his skills in planning and designing. He did all the CAD work for it and things like that. So it wasn't, he didn't build anything physical for it, but he did all of the design work. He took all of his design principles as an architect and applied them to the work of that project and helped us to do all of the blueprints and all of the mock-ups and things like that for it. So yeah, it's very practical in terms of whatever skills. So for mood strings, we had a carpenter, because he came and he built all the little stands and the bits like that. So it's very much what the skill sets are that somebody could offer and how we can marry them into the work that we're doing. The usefulness comes from the fact that it creates an engaging experience that somebody will give you their data in, and then it's the data that is the application. So if we take, like I said, so from the Barbican, if we're finding out that engagement is really low in the over 25s category, or engagement of working class white people is really low, or of kind of South Asian communities is really low, that we can then go away and use that as the basis of, well, why is that happening? And then bringing those people in, getting them involved in the process of developing new solutions, new strategies, new engagements, to make sure that those people are represented next time. Cool. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks once again. Thank you. Okay, let's go get some pizza. We're back, I think it's 5-week month because it's the third Wednesday. It's the 21st of June we're back here, but we've got the Silicon Canal stuff going on before that. So see you all then. Thank you very much.